edition of Listen Up a Minute. I am your host, John Dowell, and of course, I am with the sound master, Mr. Bill McGee, and in the background, LJ Brown Enterprises, which Health Makes This Possible, and the awesome video work of Mr. Derek Wright in full motion video. Without these guys, I would be here talking to myself. Bill, good to see you again.
Good to see you, John. Good to see you. And we got an exciting show today.
Yes, we do.
And I think everybody's going to be really well informed because we've got some top-notch people who can help people today.
Yes, and the timing is perfect considering what's been going on the past year and what's still going on. And with that, folks, we have our Dr. Lawrence Woodson and team of Family and Adolescent Services. Dr. Woodson, how are you?
Well, how are you doing?
I'm good, good. Thank you for joining. If you tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll have each one of your team members introduce themselves and we can get right into it.
Okay, well, first of all, thank you all for this opportunity to come before you this evening and talk about our organization, Family and Adolescent Services. And Family and Adolescent Services was established in 2006. And we provide mental health counseling services to children, adults, and families. And we believe early intervention makes all the difference. Beside me is my wife, Cynthia Woodson, and she is co-owner and program director. And with us, we have our leadership team, an amazing team of individuals who are very skilled at what they do, very committed to helping individuals to improve their lives. With me also is Marsha Witherspoon. She's one of our clinicians. She's a licensed professional counselor. Dr. Marcia Hathaway, outreach director. Alexander Lawrence, program director, and Mara Jennings, supervisor. What I would like for each of these individuals to give you a brief introduction of themselves and an overview of the various components. We have several different programs, and we have individuals who oversee various programs, and I would like for them to give you an idea of what they do and the very nature of the programs. We'll start with Cynthia.
Good evening, and thank you once again for this opportunity, as Dr. Woodson has shared. At this time, I would like to just introduce the services that we provide as an agency. So the first service that we provide is intensive in-home, which started in 2006 when the company first started. We then migrated to therapeutic day treatment services, which is done in the schools. Richmond Public Schools is where we currently provide these services. We also provide mental health skill building services and crisis stabilization services, which is the most recent and the latest. In addition to that, outpatient counseling and substance abuse programs are offered to our community and our clients as well. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over, to our clinician, who is Martha Witherspoon, and she will just discuss and talk about the status of mental health.
Hello, my name is Marsha Witherspoon. I'm a licensed professional counselor. I'm sorry, my phone just went off. The status of mental health since COVID has increased and escalated in all areas. We have children, adults, men and women, families who have lost family members to COVID-19, an increase of depression, an increase of homelessness, which escalates other mental health symptoms that they probably did not have at the time. One thing that has also escalated within the last 8 to 9 months is crisis. I've never seen an influx of crisis the way I see an influx of crisis now. The stories that I hear every day is heartbreaking. Like you think you heard it all. You think not seen it all, but you think you heard it all. But I've heard some stories that's just literally heartbreaking. People are struggling, people are suffering, people are hurting. And I really believe that without the mental health agencies that are around who are really doing the work, we will have a whole lot of deaths and suicides. because mental health, people say it and it's so cliche, but it's so true. Mental health is real. People suffer in silence. Family members have been abused physically, sexually, mentally. Children are being caught in the mainstream of adults' decisions, and we are here to try to help them get out of it. While we are always, we're dealing with our own stuff. We all have our own stuff, but while we're listening to these stories day by day, I do at least 10 assessments a day, and I hear a lot. And mentally, it takes a toll on me as well. So sometimes I have to kind of like step back, because even though you think you've heard it, I've been in the mental health field for 20 years. Sometimes I hear stories that kind of make me pause. Anything else?
Thank you.
So we are in a pandemic. The pandemic is mental health. We have a whole nother pandemic, which is mental health every day. And I think if COVID-19, although the numbers have decreased, the number of cases that clients that we service have not decreased. They have increased because people are still trying to get back to where they were pre-COVID, whatever that was. We know where it was.
I was telling John when we first started, I said, John, we're going to ask them, because I believe that we're going to see such PTSD that a lot of people, a lot of people equate PTSD with wars and type of events like that. But this pandemic is going to have such PTSD that, like you just said, you hit it just dead on the head, that we haven't seen this before.
Right.
Right.
We haven't seen this before.
Right.
And PTSD, when I asked, one of the major questions that I asked a client when they're being assessed, what are your diagnoses? Because they may tell Dr. Hathaway depression. No, tell me what's really going on. It's PTSD. One client that I can remember, and this probably been in the last 30 days, his PTSD came from a war. Everybody else has come from everyday struggle, internal and external. Only one person has come from an actual war. And so I asked them, what have you witnessed or experienced for them to diagnose you with PTSD? Because they don't even really understand, like, it's not even always about quote unquote trauma, but what have you witnessed or experienced? Because something have had to happen to cause them to diagnose you with PTSD. And I'm sorry.
I was sharing with John that in just a year and a half, I know of 35 close people who have passed away. I'm keeping a list of people who have passed away. Dr. Woodson, it started with Jose Brower back last February. And since that time, it really started with Debo Dabney. And Debo passed away, and I've just been Rudy Ford, one of our colleagues.
Yeah.
We just went down the list of people that I have known and kept a list of when they passed away. And I'm a pretty hard guy, but I might be suffering from a little bit.
Yeah. You need some
You know what I'm saying? I know.
Yeah.
Let's move on and speak to Myra. Myra, talk to us.
Marsha.
It's her.
Oh,
Myra.
you want to do
Okay, I'm sorry.
Myra. I was asking Myra.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Myra Jennings. I supervise our therapeutic day treatment program, which is within the schools. We work with children in elementary school as well as middle school. And what we basically do is we teach the 5 components of CASEL, which are self-awareness. The child needs to be able to identify with their emotions, explain what their emotions are. We deal with self-management, which is the child should be able to regulate their emotions, be able to control themselves. Social awareness, which is they should be able to not only control their emotions, but be able to interact with others and interact with others appropriately, specifically their peers. The next one would be relationship building, which is with adults. Like, we always say, like, respect your elders, respect others. So they should be able to respect adults and anybody they come in contact with within the school building, in the community, and also within their home. And our last goal would be responsible decision making, and that just means that we teach them how to make appropriate choices. So our counselors work with them within the school building throughout the traditional school day, and they are pulled to do individual and group counseling, but it is not to deter what is going on within the academic situation and the academic environment.
Thank you. Thank you. Your job is cut out for you in the future also, Myra, because what this last year and a half of online learning has done is, it's gonna be an interesting situation, because I don't think the adults are prepared to handle the flexibility it's gonna take to get kids back in line. Dr. Woodson and Mrs. Dr. Woodson, all of us know as educators that sometimes we can go by that book, or we can go by the rules. But you're supposed to, Dr. Hathaway, you're supposed to throw that book away at this time.
That's right.
Because
That's right.
because these kids have gone through something that none of us
Absolutely.
have ever had to go through. And I was joking yesterday, I told somebody, I said, they're going to be 50 years old saying, child, I remember we had to go to school for a year and a half. And their grandkids going to say, oh, grandma, you need to stop lying. You know they ain't close.
Yeah.
Dr. Hathaway, talk to us, doll.
Hey, how are you?
Great.
I, as outreach director coordinator, I oversee intensive in-home and the mental health skill building. And one of the main goals of intensive in-home is keeping the child in the home to help to try to prevent out-of-home placement. So we utilize evidence-based treatment models and interventions to address anger management, coping skills, stress management, communication skills. One of the things that have been very evident with me in this pandemic is that children are sitting in front of that computer. They don't talk to anybody. And so helping them to be able to talk and to communicate, be able to say how they're feeling and how they feel about the things that have gone on. I had a conversation with a parent today, and she said to me is that her child needs intensive in-home more now than ever. He graduated from high school not knowing anything more than he knew in the 9th grade.
Wow.
But through the pandemic, it was just, you can't hold everybody back. And so helping parents and their children to effectively communicate. We do that through individual counseling and family counseling as well. I also oversee the mental health skill building. While intensive in-home is we serve from 4 to 21. At age 20, after 21, we pick up with mental health skill building, where we teach them social skills, how to make groceries, how to budget, how to manage their medication. One of the exciting things that some of the counselors do is help clients develop a medication chart. You would be surprised how many individuals out there with mental health issues misuse prescriptions.
Right.
I took it yesterday. I think I took it today. I don't know how many milligrams is this. What's the doses of this? They don't know. And so we get our counselors to have them to just chart it out on the calendar. Today I take this, and this. Tomorrow I take this and this. And so that those organization skills, helping the adolescents and adults to understand the symptoms of their diagnosis. Why are you taking this prescription? Oh, it's because the doctor gave it to me. Well, what did the doctor tell you about the prescription? So educating them on medication and symptom management as well.
Wonderful, wonderful. Mr. Lawrence, help us out here. Tell us what you do, sir.
Yes, I'm Alex Lawrence. I am the program manager for the Crisis Stabilization Services here at Family and Adolescent Services. You can think of our department as like acute care. It's very rapid, it's very active, but short-term therapeutic services. It's temporary, but very intensive. We give a lot of support because our goal is to prevent emergencies from happening. That's psychiatric hospitalization, or you even being institutionalized. Some of the services that we offer is medication management that Dr. Hathaway spoke about, a behavior assessment, psychiatric evaluation, psychologicals. But our biggest component is linkage. We're linking you to all the resources that are in the community. So when our service is in, you will still have support from your local providers and your local agencies within our community.
Let me ask you a question. Do you all predominantly work with city clients, or do you also work in the counties?
Well, we would work wherever.
Well,
We're licensed basically throughout the state of Virginia. So it really depends on the referral base and where that's located.
Our
Very
current caseload has stretched from Prince George all the way to Ashland.
Oh, wow, okay. Wow. Well, John, you know, you think about some of the stuff you and I were talking about. Didn't there was a question that you had that I remember that I wanted to hear answered.
Has the pandemic, did it kind of expose what was already there, or did it create something new, or was it some of both? And Dr. Woodson, before you answer that, if you could tell our audience what your doctorate is in, MD, PhD, ED, and same Dr. Hathaway, if you would.
Okay.
Well, my doctorate is in educational leadership and policy studies.
Okay.
From the George Washington University.
The George Washington.
And you know, people are, for whatever reason now, people are starting to realize just how important policy is. In everything we do, it policy is coming to light. Like everything else mattered but policy. And now people just waking up. Oh, wait a minute, you know, we got to have some policy experts. We got to have some people that know some policy. Dr. Hathaway.
Yes, my doctorate is in public policy and public administration from Walden University.
Okay, so now if anyone who wants to just chime in on that, was it something that was already there and the pandemic just exposed it, or was it a combination of both? Is something new that the pandemic introduced, a new strain of mental issues, if you will?
I think it was already there, but I think the pandemic has sort of exploded it. You know, there was always homelessness. There was always a need for psychiatric treatment, but the homelessness state in the state of Virginia and in our country has just exploded. So that has added some other parameters to the mental health. And for some reason, policy doesn't address homelessness as a crisis, but we all know that it is a crisis.
Oh,
and
yeah.
if you're homeless, you don't eat, you don't sleep. If you don't take your medicine, you don't go regularly to a physician. And so I think, you know, it was always there, but the loss of employment, the loss of healthcare has really exacerbated it a lot.
And just adding, I really think the pandemic just pulled the bandage off. You know, it was like Dr. Hathaway said, it was there. But this is like Bill said, this thing is new. This was something that we could not imagine. It sort of hit us all at once as a society. And before we could have programs in place to address it, it was moving very quickly. So it pulled the bandage, if you will.
So let me ask a question before we even get too far down the road. What is the process for referring someone to your services? How, if we got people looking at this and they go like, you know, we need some of that. How do they get in on this?
Dr. Hathaway, I want you to address that because you see more referrals than the rest of us. So.
Right. Okay. They can definitely call our office. That office line is tied to my cell phone. So they can definitely dial 521-4050. Leave a message, and I do check that on a daily basis.
Repeat that number again.
804-521-4050.
You know how some of us are. What's she say?
And if you leave a message, and please leave a message, I will return the call, and we'll take the referral. I'll disseminate it to the appropriate department, and they get a call the day they leave the message. So it's not like they're gonna leave a message today and we'll call them next week. I'm very prompt in giving them a call back.
That's good to know. That's good to know.
You mentioned homelessness, and then in that same sentence, you mentioned people who, if you're homeless, you don't get a chance to take your meds, you aren't seeing a physician. A lot of times we equate the homeless person as somebody that has a mental illness. Don't know why, but it could be the person that just lost their job, or a breakup of a marriage, or some other traumatic incident that causes homelessness, where the person would be otherwise mentally stable, mentally normal. And I imagine that someone going from having a place to stay to being on a street would cause a breakdown.
Most definitely, most definitely. It's mind-boggling sometimes when you see when I meet people that was working, maybe had a medical issue, then the pandemic hit, so they lost their health insurance, they don't have this, they've been waiting, 8 months for unemployment. It's like a snowball effect. One thing happened and it just affected, several other things. While quite a few of our clients have a mental health issue, I'm seeing more and more that have a mental health issue directly related to the pandemic. I lost my job, so now I'm depressed. Now I'm this, now I'm that. Whereas if they were still gainfully employed, yes, they still maybe have depression, but they're working. And so the focus is not on the depression, because they can afford to go to the doctor. They can afford to do this. Now, when all of that is stripped from them, we've got a whole new level of homeless persons.
So before we go on, again, Dr. Woodson, tell us again some of the things that you do. We know you do drug counseling and mental health, but kind of like, give us the big 4 or 5 things that you all do.
Well, all of the programs are important. We do intensive in-home, which focuses on children, making sure that the children are not removed from the home.
Good.
We do therapeutic day treatment services, which focuses in a school environment. These services are provided during the school day and to children in school. The next program is the mental health skill building, which basically focuses on adults. These are individuals who basically need support in reference to providing some structure and helping them to do things that we may consider mundane, but for them it's very challenging. We also have crisis stabilization. As it was mentioned, this is a more recent program. We just started this program this year, and it's amazing. And we've had quite a bit of discussion regarding that. That's for individuals who are in crisis. We also provide substance abuse counseling, and this program is for individuals who have challenges with substances. And many times we get referrals from organizations wanting to keep employees employed, but because of the challenges, the substance challenges, they are on the brink of perhaps losing their jobs. So employee assistance program is quite popular in that program. And then we do outpatient counseling, and this is designed for children, adults, and families. marriage counseling, and the list goes on and on.
This almost sounds like a holistic approach. And
Well, it has to be.
that wasn't always the case in medicine. You know, and I'm sure you all know that at one point, some people thought the holistic approach was kind of new or being reintroduced. That wasn't, you know, the holistic approach wasn't always the case in some instances. But you all are encompassing the whole family. It may be one person that's having the crisis, but it sounds like you all want to get the entire family involved.
Well, if the crisis is affecting one person in the family, it's affecting everyone in the family.
Mhm.
If dad loses his job, it affects everybody.
Mhm.
If it's a single parent home and mom loses her job, her waitress job, it affects everybody. I met a client today. She lost her job. Her children are wondering, can we go to summer camp? And she's got to help them understand, no, there's no summer camp.
Yeah.
We got to get a roof over our head. And so you've got to address, it has to be holistic. Children are suffering just as much or even more as the adults are. And children need to understand, we can't just keep telling them this is temporary, because temporary for a child means it's here today, it's gone tomorrow. And this has just lasted on and on and on. So you do have to consider the whole family and the extended family. You'll be surprised how many grandparents are raising grandchildren because parents are either incarcerated or, suffering from some substance abuse or severe mental health issue.
For a variety of reasons. I'm one of those people.
And
So go ahead, John.
I was going to say, you know, a lot of that is daycare is just flat too expensive for a lot of people. For people, they may have two incomes and it may not be feasible for how many children to go to daycare. So we may have to send them to grandma and grandpa's house. And that sometimes is, you know, we say as a community, it's good to have that support, but a lot of times it's just not a choice. I'm with my grandma and grandpa because our mom and dad can't afford daycare. They both have jobs. They may or may not have insurance, but daycare is just flat too expensive in a lot of cases. And some people never think about that.
True.
And to
So-
piggyback off,
Go-
I'm
go ahead.
sorry. And
Go
to
ahead, man.
piggyback off of what Dr. Hathaway was saying, like if a child receives services during the school day or whatever, and the parent always says, well, I don't need help, I don't need assistance, but then you find out down the line that the parent is suffering mental health issues as well, a holistic approach would be to help the whole family, so when I'm speaking with the parents or things like that, I say, in order for Johnny or Bobby to be better, you have to get you some help as well. Like we're in this all together. So it's more about trying to come to the table to see what the need is, to assess the need, and trying to help the best way to assess the need.
Amen. Amen. I've said that in a lot of meetings and a lot of settings in the past, and a lot of people do not like to respond. I always say, I don't care what we do to little Johnny and little Susie. If mom and dad are jacked up, they're going to be jacked up too.
It trickles
And
down.
a lot of people never like to respond to that.
Yeah,
If I'm jacked up and my wife is jacked up, more than likely our children are going to be jacked up.
yeah.
If I'm a dumb A and I'm trying to teach my children what I don't know, more than likely they're going to turn out to be about as smart as I am, which isn't very bright. And I am so glad you said that, because a lot of people do not like to face that fact that if I'm jacked up as a parent and my wife is jacked up, children are going to be screwed up too.
Yeah, because it causes a lot of trauma in the household. That's
Yes.
that's what it truly boils down to. It's just the household becomes very disrupted. And if it is, then Johnny and Susan can't function and as well as they need to. And so that impacts their mental health, impacts them educationally as well.
And
Well,
that dysfunction spills over into the community,
Mhm.
in the schools,
In the
Mhm.
school.
and everywhere, and every other part of the environment that they are exposed to.
Well, let me add a little bit of my personal dysfunction into this so that you all can have a good laugh, I guess you would say. And of course, I am one of those grandparents that takes care of that has custody of grandkids, and I am blessed enough to have triplet grandsons that are 11 years old. And it just so happens that for a year and a half, they were not in school. So by most of us being vaccinated, I decided that this summer they could go to summer school, and we signed them up for summer school. So 2 weeks ago, they went to summer school for the first time in a year and a half. They went to school on Monday and Tuesday. I got a call on Wednesday saying, Mr. McGee, come and get your grandsons. One of the students in their classroom tested positive for COVID-19. And now they have to they have to quarantine for 14 days. Now, give me a break. So today was today was day 14, and I was told they could come back. And I asked them, did they want to go back today? They said, nope.
Absolutely.
But they're going back tomorrow.
But they're going back
They're
tomorrow.
going back tomorrow.
So y'all getting out of here.
Twice during the 14-day period, and both tests came back
Man.
negative.
Oh,
But
wow.
yeah, but they're going back to school tomorrow. You better believe that.
Okay, okay.
A year and a half,
A
year and
year.
a half of
Yeah.
Yeah.
7 days a week with
Yeah.
triplet boys that are 11,
Yeah.
and they have a big sister that's 13. And you know what that's like? To 24/7, 365 plus a half a year. They going back to school tomorrow. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Wow.
look, is there anything you all want to do to kind of wrap this up? Because we have learned so much.
Yes.
And like I told Dr. Woodson, when we get into these sessions, we can go on for an hour, and our time is fairly limited. Our executive producer, Larry Brown, always reminds us that we need to keep it to a certain time. And John and I, we just get involved like this, and we just talk, and before we look up. So then Derek has to turn around and edit all this stuff that we're doing
Yeah.
down to our time frame. So
Right.
we're gonna close it out, but we're gonna give you a chance, Dr. Woodson, to kind of like summarize what it is that you would like for people to know about your program.
Well, again, thank you all. And basically, we just want people to know that we are available and we are committed, truthfully committed to helping children, adults, and families to overcome many of the challenges that they're facing. We're not saying that we're going to get it right every time, but we work very hard. And I'm proud to have hired an amazing staff that work very hard in reference to addressing many of these challenges.
Awesome.
If each one of you, if you could give one thing or pass on one thing to the rest of the audience, if you will, on how to continue to cope with this. One thing.
Don't give up.
Don't be afraid to seek help if you need it.
Yeah.
I
I
would
would
say,
say, I'm sorry, a closed mouth doesn't get fed. My grandmother used to always say that to me, and it's not always about food, but when you just need help in general, you need
Yeah.
to ask, and we're here to assist you.
Okay.
and give yourself grace, because everyone's not going to always get it right. Everybody's not always going to get it wrong, but just go and get the help that you need and give yourself that grace and that opportunity to make mistakes and also celebrate your triumphs and your successes.
And I would say that it's okay if something is not correct or if something's not right, don't be afraid to speak up. In addition to everything else that has been said, don't be afraid, and it's okay. Sometimes people seem to think that to speak up or to confess or admit to, having issues, that is something wrong with them. But you have to be able to admit it in order to get the help that you need.
That's wonderful. Well, I know I've got issues, so that's no problem. But look, the other thing I would piggyback on to, if I may, for what you all said is, get help, keep a positive frame of mind as best you can. And remember, as they used to always say, this too shall pass.
Yes.
This
This
shall
too
pass.
shall pass.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes.
So, folks, this has been another edition of Listen Up a Minute for the entire crew. And Dr. Woodson and your staff, thank you all for joining us. Folks, the contact information will be posted when the final production is done. So please give them a call if you need any help, or if you know someone else that needs some help, pass it along, because we're all in this together. And I can speak from experience. No one person accomplishes anything great by themselves. I'm a living
true.
witness. You have to have good people around you at all times if you ever want to get anywhere in this life. And on
Give us that
note,
number. Give us that number again, too.
yes, please.
804-521-4050.
Okay, now one more time for the people who could not grab an ink pen, or for the ink pen that did not want, the brand new ink pen that did not want to write just when you needed it to write.
Sure, 804-521-4050.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you all so very much. And for the entire crew of Listen Up a Minute, I am John Dowell. Thank you, and we will see you next time. Be healthy, everyone.